Katrina hit in August of 2005, I was in kindergarten. I had just started my kindergarten year. I was 5, and my mom decided that we were going to stay. It was just me, my mom, and my brother at the time. We walked to the kitchen, we looked out the kitchen window, and we had seen that this huge oak tree had just fallen perfectly right between our house and my neighbor's house, missing both of our houses. I mean, obviously we got some damage, but it missed both of our houses. Fell perfectly, between it.
We didn't have power for 13 days, and so we had a big family. So it's 6 kids, and then my mom and my dad. So it's 8 people in the house. Was not a lot of air, and I can just remember it being so terribly hot. And for 13 days, sleeping downstairs. That was the first time I ever taken a shower with like a jug. My mom had these jugs of water. She was like, all right, who's up? And so you go sit in the shower, and we got the jug, and the water would be so cold. I just wanted hot water. The water would be so cold, and that's how we took showers.
We hunkered down in this little bitty bathroom. My grandmother made sure that we were comfortable. She had bean bags in there for me and my little sister, who was 2 at the time.
So I started to truck it from West 5th Avenue in Petal to Moselle, and to do so I walked down 11. There was no light pollution to speak of, save for what almost looked like a spotlight, but it would be someone shining a flashlight into the air. I had no flashlight with me at the time, so I was almost blind walking down 11, really climbing down 11.
Well, I was actually living in Picayune at the time. That's about 29 miles north of the actual coastline where the hurricane actually moved inland. And I was working at a flower shop. I was so engrossed in it that I didn't realize we were actually sitting in the eye of the hurricane. And I saw the trees go this way, and then they went back this way. So after the eye pass, they always switch directions. They come from the northeast first, then they go back to the southwest. I actually saw a tree do this, then go back the other way.
I was extremely grateful for everything that transpired on my end because my family was extremely prepared for this, as we had a generator, so we were able to handle power outages. We lost plumbing, but that was okay. And we had 17 family members actually come from St. Bernard Parish to live with us. They lost everything.
My family's from New Orleans, in Chalmette specifically. It's about 20 minutes away from the city. We had no idea where my dad was, because he lived in that area as well. We had no idea where my grandparents were, and it was really scary. With Katrina, it was such an impactful event in my life, and I know it impacted all of us in so many ways, negative and positive. And hope from, whenever we look back 20 years later that we still remember Katrina, and even 50 years later, we can all look back and we remember Katrina and the devastation it cost us, and also the resilience of Mississippians as well.
Our entire team worked very, very hard to be able to broadcast in the capacity that we could. Many people did not have power. I would say most of the Pine Belt did not have power. However, many people did have battery-powered televisions, so people were able to see us, and our news was able to be picked up by other outlets as well and broadcast. So there was an audience that was able to hear about what was happening in the Pine Belt. And we just started broadcasting continuously. In the aftermath, many people would just drive right to the television station from the community, including police officers, including other members of the community. Elected officials, for example, would come to the television station, just walk right on into the newsroom and ask us what were we hearing. And then they were also talking to us about being able to get messages out to their loved ones, because as I mentioned, we were able to have particular areas of the television station be powered. So for example, our ability to write emails and internet access was something that we did have at the television station, which many other community members did not have. And so the television station really became a central place to be able to share community news and to be able to reach out on behalf of our friends and neighbors to let loved ones know that they were okay. I remember writing emails on behalf of community members saying, "You're receiving this message from me. My name is Colleen Donovan. I'm a news reporter at WDAM, and your loved one came to the television station and wanted me to write a message to let you know that they're okay." Many people in our community lost friends and loved ones in that storm, whether that was on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, whether that was friends, relatives, neighbors in New Orleans. And there were also losses in terms of personal property, in terms of memories that families had made. I think that's very difficult to talk about. I will say, in the face of that great tragedy, the very best in people was brought out, particularly when it came to our faith communities and our churches, and really being able to embody the message of hope and of love to our fellow community members. So I would say that the storm, when I think about it and the role that WDAM played, ultimately, I remember that it brought out the very, very best in humanity.
Well, as soon as the storm hit, we went into attack mode, pretty much. We prepared as best as we could. We didn't know what was going to happen, and everybody was just working nonstop. We were wall to wall, I think, for 2 weeks. And there was a few stories that were done on the destruction and what had happened, but I think the philosophy was everybody could look out their window and see the damage. I mean, because everybody had damage. You weren't watching somebody else experience damage because you had some yourself to some extent. So there wasn't a lot of time spent on the actual damage itself and what was done. I think our role was try to get help to people if we could. I remember the anchors on TV, actually it's the old school stuff, you know, they would be reading and somebody would hand them a message and say, "Oh, this just in," you know, it literally was, "This just in. Somebody needs water at so-and-so place," or "Somebody needs food here." I was with two other people, I don't recall who it was, but it was news team members, and we had been out and about doing a story. And I'd done so many stories of other people helping other people, you know, like Salvation Army or any other organization. And I just suggested this to my coworkers. I said, "Hey, you guys, let's just stop for a minute. You know, let's, you know, I can't keep just doing stories on people helping people. You know," I said, "Let's try to do something ourselves, just for a minute." I said, "Maybe we shouldn't do this, but I feel like we have to get involved more than just telling the stories of people helping other people. Let's help people ourselves. I mean, really physically do it." So we went to a supply area, I'm not sure where it was, but we picked up a bunch of water. I mean, as many cases of water we could cram to our news car. And we'd heard that there was a nursing home in Petal that was out of water and out of supplies. And I'm not even sure that nursing home still exists. It was off of George Street, I think, and near the old power station on the river. But we just took a break from doing stories, loaded up the news car with water, and drove to that nursing home and actually handed out that water to cleaned us out. We handed it all out to the nursing home. And for just a few minutes, I felt like, wow, we really done something. I mean, we're not just normally doing something, getting news and information to people, but we actually helped somebody physically on a one-to-one basis, just one time to do it. And of course, immediately after it was over, we said, well, we got to go back to work. Let's go out and do what we were doing. But we had a break, we had an opportunity. It took probably less than an hour. I said, let's do something. And then it felt really good. I think all of us felt really good that we had actually physically helped somebody and just got involved as more than news people. And of course, we went back to being news people immediately and started doing stories on people helping other people. But that one occasion I do remember where we stopped and said, no, let's do something. And it felt pretty good.
Raycom eventually sent in supplies,
An 18-wheeler.
worth of supplies to
packed.
WDAM. But before those supplies arrived, we were working nonstop. And Colleen Donovan
Colleen.
had been working nonstop for days, just like all of us. I had never seen Colleen eat more than an apple or a banana.
She was a very healthy
She was
eater,
very healthy
yes.
eater, and like she didn't eat a lot.
Getting ready to, write her script or whatever, and all of a sudden she was sitting there, and she said, "I'm hungry," just out loud, and I was like, "Okay."
And when we heard that,
yeah.
we knew that all of us were near death. Because if Colleen was hungry, like it was time for us to get something to eat and start taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, I think we were some of the first people in this area to start seeing images come out of the coast and out of New Orleans.
And I remember Pam Weaver was working with us at the time, and she's from the Gulf Coast. And when those pictures came in, I remember Pam Weaver just bawling because that was her home. We had a tight-knit group because we're a small TV station. Everybody knows everybody, and we had a tight-knit group.
I know where you're going.
But
It was
like
some breaking points.
after about a couple of weeks of going nonstop and the heat, the exhaustion, like we were about to kill each other. I remember vividly one of our reporters who had come from New Jersey. He was so excited to be
about the hurricane.
About the hurricane. Like he was like bouncing off the walls before it happened because he was so excited and had never been through something like that. And we kept talking to him and telling him, hey,
Chill out.
chill out, this is serious or whatever. But like his enthusiasm was through the roof. But he was the first person that broke after the hurricane. And like when he and I got into a very heated argument, and I felt myself, I really wanted to do something, harm him. And when I felt that, that's when I knew, okay, it's time for me to take a break. And that's when after I left that argument with him, I walked into Randy's office and I told Randy, I said, Randy, I need a break. I said, I gotta go. I said, because if I don't, I'm gonna end up hurting somebody.
Yeah, I remember. The goal was to make sure that the Pine Belt was informed, and I believe we achieved that goal.
We did. It cost us.
It did.
Some blood, sweat, and tears, but
Yeah.
we did.
We made it.
We had some of our best reporting to come out of that those times.
We did. We did.
Like I said, it was nonstop.
Jim Wilkinson, our chief engineer at the time, came to the office. He said, Chief, are you aware of what's going on with this Hurricane Katrina down in the Gulf? And I said, last I heard, it was somewhere down around Puerto Rico or something. What's going on? He said, I think you better come to the weather station and let me show you the models. We had to start taking care of logistics. At the time, the station did not have a generator. And as you know, it takes a lot of power to do what you do on TV, a lot of electrical power. So we were able to locate one in North Carolina. We got it in on Sunday afternoon before the hurricane hit, and we got it hooked up and really got the generator up and running just in the nick of time. Everybody, you know, that was that worked for us, all of a sudden, they were working 24 hours a day. And so basically we had to live at the station from before the hurricane on through the aftermath of it and everything. So we had to get food, we had to get supplies and everything else. The hurricane hits, it's ferocious winds and rains and everything else. We stayed on the air, keeping people informed. We were constantly fighting for supplies and fuel for our news crews and everything like that. And just getting around was problematic because there were trees down everywhere. I was amazed at how the community really pitched in and started helping out, clearing roads and everything like that. The people around here really were phenomenal. And people were calling in, my husband needs oxygen, we don't have any power, we don't, you know, he's on a machine, and we would put that on the air. Somebody would call in, look, I've got a generator I'll take to them, I've got oxygen that I can provide for them. The people couldn't get in or out of their homes, and really because of the coverage that we gave and because of the cooperation of our audience, lives were saved. WDAM has a tremendous legacy in this community. For many years, it was the only station many people could pick up. It's been there through huge moments in history, the civil rights movement, the Hurricane Camille, everything that people needed to know in the local community. We've always tried to serve them, and I'm sure the station still does, because broadcasters are first responders too in times of cataclysmic events and things like that. So I'd just like to give a shout out to my old station and the crew that was with us. They did a magnificent job with the help of our viewing audience.